How many people have a camera or a phone that has a camera? Most of us probably have both, and I'm guessing that we all have pictures of our family, our friends, and the places and things that we have seen or come upon. And I'm sure there are times you've come upon an incredible place, such as an amazing lake and mountain setting, and you've taken a photograph. You went home, you looked at the photo, and you realized it did not capture the dramatic beauty of the landscape that you had just seen. The photo may appear also to be uninteresting to you. How would you like to do two simple things that can help capture the beauty of your great landscapes? Today I'm going to explain how to use two photo composition guidelines, which are guidelines that assist you in the arrangement of the subject of your photo. And the guidelines I'm going to discuss today are the rule of thirds and foreground interest. And I'm going to start with talking about the rule of thirds guideline. According to David Bush, who's a photojournalist with over 20 years experience, and he's also the author of Digital Photography All-in-One for Dummies, he states that the placement of the photo subject is a very important element because the placement provides balance in the photo, and it helps emphasize the subject of your photograph. The rule of thirds is accomplished by placing the subject along imaginary grid lines in the frame that divides your photograph into thirds horizontally and also vertically. And what I'd like to do is show you what I'm talking about here with the photograph that I've taken. This is a landscape photo, and if you can see the red lines here, and look at the red lines that run horizontally here and vertically, let me show you here how it divides your photo up into thirds. Horizontally here you have the bottom, the middle, and the top, and also the vertical lines do the same thing. They're divided vertically. You got the sides here, you got the middle, and the side here. And the great thing about using the rule of thirds is it's simple, because in most cameras today, these grid lines, these red grid lines right here, they are you can see them in your LCD screen on your camera, so it's easy to line your photo up. You probably have to go into the menu of your camera and make these active, but they're there and they're easy to use. Now, the article, The Fundamentals of Composition, in the March 2012 issue of Digital Photography, which is a leading British photography magazine, and the author, David Bush, recommends placing the picture, the subject of your picture, at one of the four intersecting lines. By placing the subject at one of these four intersecting lines, it assists in giving your photograph balance. Again, I'd like to go back to the photograph and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. So the horizontal and vertical grid lines, they create four intersecting lines right here. And what they're talking about is placing the subject of your photo in one of these four locations. Now, when I came upon this location, I really liked the house back here, the houses in the greenery, and I wanted to make them the subject of my photo. So when I was lining up to take the photo, I placed the house right here at this intersecting line. Now, as I said, these are guidelines, so what you want to try to do is get your subject as close as you can to these lines, intersecting lines. It doesn't have to be exact. Now, I've discussed how the rule of thirds helps create balance within a photo. And next I would like to explain how using foreground interest will give your landscape photo depth, interest, and it guides the viewer's eye to the subject of your photo. Placing an object in the foreground creates depth in your photo. It creates immediate interest for your photo, and it's very useful to guide the viewer's eye to the subject of your picture. An object in the foreground creates depth in your two-dimensional photo because it appears large, because it is closest, and the object in the distance looks small. So this gives the viewer the feeling that there is distance between the two objects. The use of a foreground object also creates immediate interest in your photograph because it appears to be close. And once the viewer is drawn into your picture, Foreground interest also helps move the viewer's eye to the main subject of your picture. What I like to do here is explain this and show you another photo example of how this works here. This is a picture here of Buckingham Palace, the gates. Well, when I came upon this and I saw the gates, I also noticed there were some flowers right here. So I wanted to use the flowers for some foreground interest because you got some bright colors here. You got the red contrast against the yellow, and you also have some green here. So I knew that this would draw the viewer's attention and grab their attention, and they would, look at the picture. What this also does is, since the flowers run from the bottom to the top, it also draws the viewer's eye naturally upward into the subject here, which is the gates of Buckingham Palace. I'd like to go back and briefly talk about the rule of thirds again and how I used it in this photograph. As you can see here, my foreground interest, I divided this photograph into thirds horizontally, and the bottom third of this is my foreground interest. And I used the top 2/3 of my picture for the subject, the Buckingham Palace gates here. I've explained how the rule of thirds and foreground object gives your landscape photos balance, depth, interest, and it gives the photo a strong visual impact. And I'd like to go back and review these items. The rule of thirds composition assists in giving your landscape photo balance and emphasizes the photo subject. The use of foreground interest creates immediate interest for your photo. It gives your two-dimensional photo depth, and it leads the viewer's eye to the subject of your photo. Using these two simple composition guidelines will help you create interesting and amazing landscape photos.